Welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is May 2nd. It's not quite May Day, but kind of, almost. Cinco de Mayo's coming up. We got all kinds of holidays coming up. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to tonight we are going to talk about the fabric. The fabric always wins. So I got this great idea of what we could do, and I'm going to do it periodically so that it's just a really good training. You guys inspired it, you asked about it, but it's just a really good overall idea. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The Brett update. This is like the Brett update. Hi, Brett. Brett's in the hospital because he had a PET scan, as we mentioned, and we were hoping for it to come back negative, and it did not. It came back positive. He still has cancer. So he has to keep going. He has to have 2 more chemo treatments, and we are optimistic. We are absolutely optimistic, and it's tough. It's very tough to hear news like this. But he has dug his heels in, and he is hanging in strong. He went into the hospital Friday, but he'll be home tomorrow, and we're hanging in. Anyway, so thank you, everybody. He's still on administrative leave. We want him back is what we want. We really want him back. Anyway, so let's go ahead and in our traditional format, what we do is we give the first 15-20 minutes to questions and answers, and then we'll start into our program. Tonight we're going to talk about the fabric. We have a new DVD out, The Fabric Always Wins. Because this Sunday is Mother's Day, I really wanted you to make something for yourself this week. It's not Mother's Day, it's Woman's Day, so you don't have to be a mother to celebrate. Just everyone who's female gets to call the day theirs, and it's good. And then next time, we'll talk about the May POM. We do have a new pattern out. We have a new men's shorts cargo. Yes, you asked, we gave, so we have a new cargo shorts men's pattern out. It could be used for women too, absolutely. Somebody asked me that yesterday, of course. You just have to reverse the fly, or you don't have to reverse the fly. But anyway, we'll focus on that in 2 weeks. We've got all kinds of great fabrics for you, and that makes more sense because this way we can kind of deal with us. We can focus on women for, Women's Day, Mother's Day, and then we can shift gears and go to fathers and kind of prepare for Father's Day upcoming. And you can make your favorite guy or guys a pair of cargo shorts. They're awesome to make. I've made several pairs, and they're really fun. They really are. Okay, so let's go ahead and do questions. Question is, would you recommend ITY fabric for making wide-legged yoga pants? Yes. What wide-legged yoga pants need is they need great drape. They need great drape. If not, they'll just make you look like a million miles wide. You've got to have a really nice drape to that pant leg. So if you're widening it, the fabric needs really great drape. So ITY knits work really, really well. Very slimming for as wide as that wide-legged is when you use an ITY knit. And that one fabric we have, it's called Black Perfection, I think, ITY knit, or Perfect, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, that's a great fabric for them, for doing exactly that, just as an example. On Betsy's jacket, that's 1600, I need to narrow the shoulder a bit. How do I do that? Well, you can't narrow the shoulder. The shoulder, it's a raglan. So, I don't think you literally mean narrow the shoulder. Maybe it's not matching your shape. Number one, you can use a shoulder pad and you can pad it out. Or on a raglan seam, there's a seam that goes right over the shoulder. You can just take that up. So there's no physical shoulder seam. It's just body versus pattern where that curve is, and you might need to change the curve is all. Okay? Very easy to do. Just follow the shape of you. You could do it after you cut it. You just put it on and then reshape the shoulder seam. Hey, Brett. He's only a text away. I'm going to do 4014 Shelley's dress. Do I only shorten the skirt to remove 2 inches? Yeah, just take it off the hem. I mean, you could take 1 inch off the body and 1 inch off the hem if you wanted to divide it up. That would be no problem. It'd probably look a little better than taking 2 inches off the skirt. The proportion on that dress is basically a 1-to-1, so it'd probably be better to take 1 inch off the angle and then take 1 inch off the skirt, and that would keep it a little better balanced. Basic block 600. How do I add a back shoulder dart? I have protruding shoulder blades. You do not need to add a back shoulder dart. I built protruding shoulder blade building into that back. So I'm going to guess you haven't made a muslin. I'm going to guess you haven't had any issues yet. You've just had other issues with other patterns. You guys and I get this all the time. Have you made a muslin? My guess is no. Make a muslin first. Don't predetermine that you're going to have problems, you guys. You'll waste a lot of time doing that. I think you think you're going to save time, but you don't. And just an overall statement, you guys, I do not answer questions on other patterns. It's not that I'm trying to be a snob. I just don't know the base. I can't give you an answer that is the pattern that I don't know because I don't know the base of how it is. I know the patterns of silhouette. I made them. I know the base. I understand them. I know typically what goes askew on the majority of people. So when something goes askew, I can pretty much tell you why when you're halfway through your first sentence. So it's really important to know that base. I cannot and will not give advice on other patterns. A lot of times you're asking a question and I can tell it's not a silhouette pattern from the problem you're having because we haven't had that problem, and we're going to have all the problems we've had. And the problems that we have, I fixed. If I could, obviously I fixed them, but if, you can't fix every problem. So when I send back, is this a silhouette pattern? You get back, no, but I was just wondering. I can't do it, you guys. If you're dealing with another pattern company, then I think it's fair to say you got to email that pattern company and ask that pattern company the problem that you're having. Okay, the question is, I'm reluctant to sew rayon knits because garments I've purchased pill very quickly. How do I select good quality rayon knit? I can't tell you a general rule. I don't think there is one. I can tell you our rayon knits don't pill. I've had some of the rayons that I carry, I've made up shirts and worn them over and over, and I haven't had any problem with pilling. So an overall rule, you can't. That's why I think it's important to know, to know good sources of fabric. Inexpensive is not, or cheap is not cheap. Sometimes cheap only lasts a couple washings and then it's kind of expensive. So just kind of an overall rule. I'm making your shrug from 195. Per your demo you made a double front. Yes. You finished the ties with square ends for buttons. What would I do to finish the ties in a point? The one that comes from the shoulder seam and it comes to the side seam, you would take that line, that's a design line now, and you'd bring it all the way to the hem. You want to keep the hem straight because it will look better, so don't bring the hem up to the point. Take the neckline, which is asymmetric and it goes from one side to another, and just angle it down to the hem. What I did is I angled it up and then squared it off so that it had space for the button. Just take it right into the hem, and that will give you the point you want and it will look great. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show that top again tonight. Love that little top. I just made it over and over and over. In fact, I've made the pattern so I don't have to do it every time. I just lay it down and it's all done. And I find I wear it a lot too. So I'm going to show that to you a little bit later on tonight. Number 500, woven fabric. Good. How do I get rid of the upside down V? Upside down V would be like this at top of center back. I have already adjusted the slope of my shoulder. Wow, you got me on that one. I don't know. Upside down V, it's got to be depth. A V is an angle, so there's got to be some issues with depth there that maybe you adjusted it too much. Maybe you took up the shoulder too much. That tank top, it should just be a little tiny bit at the angle of the shoulder. That's it. At the edge of the shoulder, tapering to nothing at the neck edge. But I don't know. Try to get a picture of it if you can get a picture of it. Snap a photo. I know it's pretty hard to get the back of you. Stand in a mirror, maybe. I'm just throwing out suggestions, but I don't know. From the description, it's got to be depth because it's angular, but I don't know what could be causing that. I've not seen it in the tank top. Blouse number 600. Please show correction for rounded back. I need about 1.5 inches. For the back, you're just going to slice on the center back's on a fold. You're going to slice probably 6 inches down is the roundest part of your back. You're going to take there, you're going to make a horizontal slash over to the armhole, and you're going to open it up. 1.5 is an awful lot. I mean, you know, you guys, when you give me these numbers, I just kind of cringe, because that's a tremendous amount to open it up. So I don't know how you determine that, but it just seems too dramatic. I would say 3/4 of an inch is probably a lot. A 1/2 inch is, you know, anyway, because again, I've already built these into round to normal backs, and I can even round it off a little more. So don't make a comparison with another pattern that you've done. You know, 600 is our base. It fits really well. Don't make any adjustments until you know, but that's how you do it. It's right at the shoulder blade area. You slash to nothing at the shoulder blade, leave it connected, the pivot point is at the armhole, and then open it up at center back. And then you can straighten up the center back, and you can still put it on a fold. Alright, on your trench coat video you show a winter jacket made with a pattern. This is what I want to do. Did you put shoulder pads in the winter coat? No. They are not in the trench coat pattern, and I didn't put them in the winter coat. No shoulder pads. I don't like shoulder pads in a coat, to me, in a winter coat, because typically you have a jacket on underneath, and you already have a shoulder pad. So, and again, I'm not a coat expert by any stretch of the imagination. I live in Dallas, Texas. You know, we don't have coats here. I mean, we have coats, but you know what I'm saying. There's just not a lot of, not like y'all do up in the north. I mean, I'm amazed. You have like rooms full of coats. We don't have that here. But anyway, I do not put shoulder pads in my coats, to answer the question. Okay, receive the knit muslin fabric. It is two-way, very stretchy fabric, not as advertised. Did I get the wrong fabric? No. We have sold so much of the fabric that we have pulled in different kinds to meet all the needs of the sales. I mean, not all kinds, but there's been a couple different kinds that we've used. So there has been some that is stretchy. A knit muslin is a knit muslin. You need both kinds of knits. You need two-way stretch and one-way stretch, because your one-way stretch will work for the one-way stretch fabrics, and your two-way will work for the two-way stretch. So you actually should have both. We had very limited two-way. For those of you who got two-way, you actually got lucky, because two-way is just so much more expensive, period. But because I had it, and because I was out of the one-way, we have the one-way back in right now, I shipped the two-way, but it is more expensive. It's easier to find one-way knits, muslin in general, than it is two-way. Two-way is actually the harder. So we really just were advertising a generic muslin that could be used for knits, period. So that's why we kind of used both, is really what we did. And we're back to the one-way now. We have the one-way in stock, and that's what we'll ship. Okay. I have made 600. I have drag lines from my shoulder blades to my waist. If those drag lines go right through the bust dart, and I'm supposing they do, that's why I'm pausing, that's the bust dart. That is the bust dart. So pinch up the bust dart, make it larger, and see if those drag lines go away. The shoulder seam, the drag lines, if they start at the shoulder seam, that tells you that the shoulder angle is not correct. So pinch up the shoulder seam and see if that takes care of those drag lines. I would imagine the drag lines are not continuous. They're two different problems. Shoulder seam, bust dart. Two different problems, two different solutions. Okay, just to be aware. You would like to see styles from the 1940s? No, you don't. You just think you do. Send me some photos. Send me some links of what you're talking about. You guys, styles repeated themselves. Most of those 1940s we probably already have. What you don't want in the 1940s is the armholes were only 14 inches and the sleeves were only 12 inches around, and you can't move. So if you look at the pattern, a lot of those you can actually incorporate into the patterns that we have. But again, if that's a generic answer, obviously. But if you'll send me a link to what you're talking about, or scan in a photo of what you're talking about, I'll kind of help you and see if we have something that's very similar, or kind of where I can push you to. Sally's pant number 3200 was the pattern of the month for April. That pattern is over, although we haven't actually gotten it taken down. We are kind of a couple days behind. Why is the 18W front less width at the hip than the front of the 18 at the hip? You guys, An 18W is smaller than an 18. I think there's a misunderstanding of what W is. W is a smaller boned woman who's gained weight. So 14W is like right around a 12. And so an 18W is actually smaller than an 18. So my question would be back to you, why make the comparison? Why not just go by the directions on the back and pick the size that's closest to you? But as far as understanding goes, if you're trying to understand it, it's just a completely different grade. The leg is smaller. It's just completely different. How do I explain that in a cap shell? I'm not sure. But anyway, it's just completely smaller. It's completely different. I don't think that's a good answer, but I'm sure to come up with the right answer. Do you think that the Tahari fabric print is too large to use for the tank top? I would say no, but I'm not sure of which Tahari fabric print because we've got several of them. Maybe give me a name and then I can help you. But I don't think we have a print on there that's not good for the tank top, because tank tops, the great thing about tank tops is they look good on probably every fabric on the planet. There's just ways that you can angle the fabric, turn the fabric, put the fabric. We're going to actually talk about that tonight, and I would like to deal with all this kind of stuff. But no, I think there's not a fabric. I've taken huge prints and put them on the tank top to where only one part of the print was showing, and it looks fabulous. Tank tops just are the best little secret weapon. They really are. I love them. I don't think a week goes by that I'll make a new one. I'm new to silhouette patterns. Hey, getting back into sewing. What video do I watch first? I don't know. I think you guys listening, why don't you answer her question for her? Well, no, I don't think so. An excerpt. We have a lot of DVDs, and we have many excerpts of those DVDs. One of them is beginning sewing the silhouette pattern way, and we don't have an excerpt from that up on the YouTube. If you go to the YouTube channel, one of the first DVDs, the very first PBS series I did, Fit to Stitch, Series 100, Episode 101, talked about pillowcases and pillowcases versus darts, and kind of went through an explanation of what darts are. That's probably where I would start, just to kind of get a broad generic, are you on the same page as us, or this is the page we're on, do you want to be here? You know, there's some women who just love pillowcases. They want to wear them, they want to look like a steam block, and that's just what they want. And if that's what you want, then you can quickly identify that that's not where we are. You know, I want you to shape your garment, I want you to look good, I want you to look your best. And a little shape is good for everybody. I don't care what your figure type is, it's always a good thing. Okay? Yay! Hi everybody! The sleeve of 195 looks awful on me due to my wide shoulders. Do I just extend the shoulder seam and redraw the sleeve hole? Do I need to extend the underarm pit too? It sounds like the whole thing's too small. Why not go up a size? I'm not sure what size you're using, but if the shoulder is too narrow, but yes, to answer your question, you can just take the whole thing out if the circumference is right for you. But what I heard is if you're extending the shoulder and if you're extending the underarm, then the whole thing's too small. That's all that makes it up, is the width of the shoulder and the width of the bust. That's the size indication. So if both of those seem too small to you and the sleeve looks bad, then I would say that possibly the size is too small and I would go up. Okay? Is the Brooks top suitable for a 5'2" woman? Yes, it's what I've got on. It's absolutely suitable, you guys. I'm telling you, I love this top. Brooks top number 95. It is, I've seen it on so many, every woman, it seems like, hold on, let me read the rest of that just real quick. I think it would be too long on me. Is that fabric still available? It is available. You know, back in the day when I was doing trade shows and fashion shows and all that kind of stuff, one of my favorite garments to do was Brooks top, because we always had it on the rack, and I would be very generous in letting women try it on because it was such a flattering top. I originally got this top from Neiman's. It was $495 for this little thing, and what's so great about it is the way it's cut, because the way the fold goes up this way and the fold goes down this way, both of them hang on the bias, and so it comes into your body. It's not like just this blob that's on you. Both sides come into the body and they cause you to look narrower at the hip than what you actually do. So about length, I mean, you could always shorten this a little bit if you wanted to. You know, the long piece there, you could take like a tuck out of the center, but I've seen it on so many different shapes and sizes, and I just think it's a home run all the way across the board. And then what I did is I put it with my skinny jeans underneath because it just gives such a thin illusion. It's just a really good look. It's very good. It's really cool for summer. It's really a nice look. And I've worn this a couple times. You know, remember my wardrobe, I only have 25 pieces now. I mean, I've worn this obviously several times because I only have 25 pieces, and I just love it. I mean, it was just really a good piece to put in my wardrobe. By the end of the summer, I'll be sick of it. It'll be gone. Is there a way to search through your fabrics by color? There is not. There's no way to search through the fabrics other than click, 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 click at the bottom. Yep. And they go, man, I'm telling you, our biggest overall problem at Silhouette Patterns is keeping enough fabric in stock. We are so low on fabric, it's scary. It's good, but they go quick, don't they? All right, questions. Four-way stretch. No such thing as four-way stretch. It's just how you can't stretch. You can't stretch up without stretching down. So you can't call that two ways. That's just up and down. I mean, I guess you can call it whatever you want, but fabric cannot only stretch up without stretching down. So I don't know. Again, my reference is industry. There's no such thing as four-way. Somehow the home sewing industry started calling it four-way stretch. It's just stretches either one way or two-way. 18W is smaller than 18, but the crotch length is longer, and that is why I was going to go with the W size. Then I saw the hip back. Stop! Pick the numbers that are closest to you. Just don't measure circumferences and lengths. I mean, do measure circumferences. Stop the comparison of the two. What you want to look at is what numbers, waist and hip, are closest to yours, and then pick. That's it. All right? And then you're going to drape it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You can overthink it after you like it, and then you can start figuring out why you like it. But in the meantime, you waste a lot of time it's not getting you anywhere, if that's fair. What mesh are you using in those skinny jeans? I had it. We had it on the site. It came from last summer, and I had just like a yard left, and so I just stuck it on the sides. But I don't have any more. But we have a black on the site right now. That we have a couple blacks that would be awesome. That black lace would be amazing, and like a print skinny jean with the black on the bottom, that would be amazing. I don't have any white. I don't think I have any white. I have that Knight's mesh. That would be cool. There's a lot of cool fabrics out there that would work really well. I was thinking of adding a bell sleeve to the bottom of 450. Could that fight with the yoke? No, 450 is kind of a hippie shirt anyway. It's Tory Burch, and Tory Burch a lot of times has added a wide sleeve at the bottom. It's kind of stylish right now. It is kind of a hippie little look. I think it would look good. I think it'd be a good option. And as long as it goes into a more fitted sleeve, it wouldn't give an illusion of width. It would be, I think it'd be a positive. I think it's a good idea. Cute idea. Is there a list of previous POMs? Is there a list of previous POMs? Like, I'm just curious, like, why you would want those. I mean, we have a list. We keep track. But I'm just curious why you want the information. I mean, off the top of my head, in January we did the Yoga Pant 3400, and February we did, I don't know. I keep lists, but I don't know. I guess, thank you for your help. I needed help on that answer. No, it's not published. That was so simple. When are you doing another New York City fabric buying trip? We'll do one next April. Next April. We won't release the trip until, I don't know, probably August. Probably August. But we'll do one next April, probably toward the end of April. I made classic blouse and it feels like it pulls across the back. I can't decide if the back is too small or if the armhole is too big. What clues would I look for to determine the true problem? You know, that's really interesting to me because I have not seen this blouse, you know, I done seen, but you said classic blouse pulls across the back. It pulls across the back. That means the back is too small if it pulls across the back. Why would the armhole be too big if it pulls across the back? If the armhole was too big, it would pull across the top of the upper arm. So, I think that's a really interesting diagnosis. I'm trying to kind of go through my head and figure out how to help you with this. Circumference is the worst problem when you do a blouse. Circumference is the #1 problem. Because we wear knits a lot and we're so used to knits that when we put on a woven and it has to have extra ease in order to have mobility, we don't know how much ease is the right amount because we don't wear a lot of woven garments anymore. So that in and of itself is a bad thing. So let's say, and I get this question all the time where women say, okay, I've got the right amount of circumference, this is what I like, and then they wear it and they say, okay, it's too tight. It's too tight because it's too small, it doesn't have enough ease. Well, I don't want it to be any bigger. Well, then live with it too tight. I mean, you know, you got to make a decision here or there. You can't have both. You can't, but the size of the armhole will not help mobility reaching forward. And so don't get those too confused. All right, is that fair? Do you have any skinny jeans fabric? Yes, we've got, well, we've got denim, we've got the black white woven, it's a reversible, that's wonderful. We've got a black, yes, we do. Any one-way stretch fabric works really well. You can use anything for a skinny jean. You don't have to have two-way. Remember, skinny jeans were initially just jeans taken and made skinny, and they only have to have stretch going around. They don't have to have stretch going up and down. I would like to know if patterns I want to sub in the POM club have been used before. If they've been used before, you would have them. Ah, okay. We don't have a published list of what's, you know, of previous years. Well, I mean, you could go back through the webcast, I guess, and kind of, you know, when we do a POM of each month, we list the pattern. That's the only thing I know to suggest. You know, I mean, internally we keep a list just so that we don't, you know, just so we know what we're doing. But I don't actually have it printed where I could email it even to you. It's in all of our data. So I'm not sure how to help you on that. Just curious what the average your attendees of the New York Fabric Fair spend once they get started buying fabric. I want to get an idea how much I need to save up for it. I do not. $1 billion. That's a great answer, Jared. $1 billion. You know, I don't get any when I take the ladies to the when I take y'all to the fabric places. I don't get any kickback from those places I take you. My sole intent is to introduce you to awesome fabric and give you the best price possible. I do not ask the vendors how much they made. I do not ask the ladies how much they spend. I did have one lady one time say to me, I got to have some kind of budget. My husband wants a budget. I said I would budget $500 to pay for the trip, $500 for airfare, and $500 for fabric. So she bought the trip. She only spent $300 on airfare, so she took $200 and put it into the fabric pile. And she got a roommate, so she had like $750 in the fabric pile. And by the time she got to the last place, she was crying because, and if you're watching, you'll know who you are, because she walked in, there was all these beautiful fabrics, and she was up to her budget, and so she started whipping out her credit card. I said, no, you can't do that. Your husband told me my job was to make sure she stayed in her budget. She couldn't do that. So, you know, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I will tell you that $200 or $300 goes a long way. You get a lot of fabric for $200 or $300 because it's also inexpensive. But I don't know. I mean, I would, if I had to guess, I would say plan $500, but I don't know. The three-piece yoga pant, if possible, I want to preserve your original tissue pattern. Any suggestions? Yeah, if you take a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and take the tissue and put it on top of anything you want that pattern to be made out of. It could be a sheet, it could be anything stable. And if you take the pattern, the tissue pattern, and put it on top, and take the black Sharpie, it'll go through the tissue without tearing the tissue, and it will write onto whatever is underneath. And I don't think I have a Sharpie in here because I'm not in my office. Yeah, but anyway, the black Sharpie, it has to be a Sharpie and not a real, you know, harsh point, like a softer point. It'll go right through the tissue, it'll go onto what's underneath it, but it won't tear the tissue. Okay, so we're going to have a little name that pattern. Not name that pattern, but I'm going to show you fabrics. We have a new DVD, The Fabric Always Wins. I am increasingly getting more and more questions about fabrics, and I do believe I figured out the answer why. And it's simply because we are conquering fit. The stuff that, you know, the fit, the whole issue, what stopped us dead in our tracks for years, what caused us to quilt, etc., all of those things, we're fixing them. We're fixing things. We're actually making things and liking them, and it's so exciting. So the good news is, if you have friends who don't know how to fit, tell them to watch these webcasts because we'll help you guys. So fabric has become a little bit of an issue now, and so I had a lady say to me, I'm really struggling with fabrics. I don't understand what's out there. Fabrics are not complex. Fabrics are just like fit. They're just a matter of you got to learn them and then you can incorporate them. So thus the DVD, The Fabric Always Wins. The fabric always wins. It is the fabric that is to be considered first, its characteristics, it's everything about the fabric before we choose the pattern. I know we used to pick the pattern out and then we'd buy fabric that was similar to the front of the pattern, but that's not the case, all right? We buy the fabric and pattern usually in two different places now, and we want to understand the fabric to where we can really make something wonderful out of it. So I thought what we'd do is just go through and practice, and I have some samples here. We're going to go through the characteristics, and then we're going to, and this is really where I need you all to comment, and Jared will kind of have to keep on his toes because I think it's important to kind of, I want to hear your feedback on what you think or what is the answer. So what I did tonight is I did 4 different outfits, or 4 different outfits, anyway, where I took the fabric and I made it up into something to where you could see. You don't have to have this particular fabric. The goal was to just so you could see what fabric ended up into what. When I was doing the DVD, and the DVD is on sale until Sunday, it's $19.99, and then it'll go back up to its regular price of $29.99. Is I went to Neiman's, I went to Nordstrom's, I went to large department stores, and I'm telling you, I flipped every tag, and every tag has the fiber, like it's polyester or cotton or whatever it is, but it doesn't have the weave, and so sometimes there's a fabric there and we don't know what it's called. But I will tell you, there was a handful of the same fabric is being used over and over again. When you try to learn fabrics and you go and you buy a fabric book, the fabric book is this thick because most of it's outdated. We don't even have those fabrics anymore. We don't use them. So it's really not necessary to learn all those fabrics if they don't even exist. I mean, if you just want to know them, that's fine. But if you really just want to be contemporary and sew with what is contemporary, then there's really not that many fabrics that we really need to understand. And that way we won't be so overwhelmed as we start going, you know, down this road. Okay, so we're going to take the first fabric, and the first fabric I'm going to start with, this is what's called To the Square. It's a viscose rayon knit. Well, viscose is rayon, so it's a viscose knit. Viscose is just a contemporary word for rayon, and it's a higher end. It has what we know about rayon. It has a beautiful drape to it, and this fabric is absolutely beautiful. It is from France. The drape, as you can see, is exquisite. It's just a beautiful piece of fabric. So when I look at that fabric and I see all the squares, you know, you think about what do you want to do with it, and I want you guys to tell me what would you want to do with it. I think it's a top weight or it's a dress. Would I put it on a skirt? I wouldn't. I think it's just I think it's too boxy to go on a curved skirt, in my opinion. I would keep it for the upper body, and because it's what I consider to be a complex fabric. It's got a lot going on. It's got a lot of colors. It's got a lot of lines. I don't want to cut it up a lot and paste it back together. I want to keep the pattern extremely simple, very, very simple. because it's square, I want to be careful that it doesn't make me look larger. So I start thinking about what do I want to do to that fabric or to the pattern that will make me look thinner, not larger. It actually has stretch in both directions. The stretch in one direction is more than the other direction. Whenever you're dealing with a knit, and I made it very clear, this is the excerpt we put on YouTube, the excerpt from the video, is there's knits have no bias. Now I got an email and a lady said to me, you know, look, there's bias and there's bias. Bias is the literal term in sewing, meaning a 45-degree angle to the weft in the warp. But in many terms, I'm going to use home flooring as an example. If I have tile put in my entryway, I say to the tile guy, I want to put on a bias. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So bias is used in grass and gardening. It's used in other things. And it all means a 45-degree angle to a straight of some kind. So when I have a knit, I have no bias in the true sense of the word because I have no straight of grain. But it doesn't mean that I can't take advantage of an angle of this cloth to do something unique and different with it, if that makes sense. Alright, so having said that, any suggestions what you all would make? Squares, wrap dress. Okay, so to me a wrap dress is way too it's too soft. It's too feminine of lines for the squares. Now that's to me. Again, you guys, there's lots of, but I just want you to hear an opinion and then you can say, well, I disagree and I'm going to go ahead, or you can do something else with it. Plazo pants, keep in mind if you put this on the bottom half of you, you would look larger because they're so, you know, got a lot going on. Sheila's jacket, it doesn't have enough body for Sheila's jacket. Sheila's jacket needs to be two-sided. This is not two-sided. The swing jacket would probably be a good thing to do out of knit. That's a doable thing. Alright, so let me show you what I did. I hope I don't pull this whole mannequin down. Hold on a second. Okay, so remember what I said is I wanted to keep the pattern very simple. So I turned the fabric on its bias. It doesn't have a bias, but I put it at an angle because it still had the stretch going around. I love this top. Absolutely love this top. I don't think there's a better use for this fabric, in my opinion. I love the sleeves even on the bias. It has the stretch still going around because it had stretch in both directions. So of course the angle is still going to have stretch as well, and all you have to do is check that on your body to make sure. Because it's a print, because there's a lot going on, I used a fold over elastic for the neck edge to stop the print and just give it some kind of a little bit of a focus. The focus, if you notice now, goes up to the neck and up toward the face. What's that? I don't know if I can, Jared. Let me take it down. Is that okay? The light? Here, let me... Just a second, you guys, so you can see it better. Okay? Okay. So, I mean, this is so beautiful. It's so pretty. The fabric itself is great. It's soft. It's such a beautiful drape. It's such a beautiful piece of fabric. So, I wanted to just make something very simple, and I turned it at an angle. And you see now that because there's so much movement going through the fabric, rather than when it was a piece of fabric, I'm going to go back to this, if you'd done it straight across, you'd just have these big blocks everywhere. So the difference between that and that is significant. Alright, this is just $195, the sweater set. Just the base is all it is. Just a t-shirt. It's all it is. You could put a belt, you could you know, dress it up. You could do lots of things. There's just a French dart. You don't even see the French dart because it's on the side of the body, but I just really like that. Okay, so next one I did, it's called, this is Ellie Tahari's, it's a crinkled neon sunshine is what I called it. I'll bring this one closer. Neon sunshine. This is the, it's a crinkled neoprene, and this neoprene is new, or it's probably came around last summer, but Ellie Tahari's used it a lot, but I've seen many designers use it. It's really a great fabric. Top takes 2 yards. Everything's got to be, you know, bias fold, front, back, bias fold. Sleeve is bias also. This is so soft. It's so incredibly soft. It is a neoprene, so it's a, it melts. It doesn't burn. It's a polyester of whatever kind. But boy, it has great drape. Beautiful drape, and it has, it's very soft, but it's very lightweight. So you see that there is a little bit of a pattern to it, and it's somewhat of a vertical pattern. I love the color. I love green. I cannot wear green, but with this amount of green, and especially blended with the white, I decided it would work. I can, especially if I put white up by the face. And always, you guys, when you go to do fabrics, watch the selvage. This selvage is just like a built-in trim. It is absolutely stunning. I mean, truly, it looks like St. John Knit would have this trim made to match the garment. On one side, I wore it, and I'm telling you, I had no problem with it. And you know, you guys know I hate polyester, but this sewed beautifully. It pressed pretty. I don't get it. I don't get what's been done to poly. I've been working on it for a while to find all the advancements with poly. It's beautiful. It's really, really pretty. If you look at this selvage over here, one is white and then one is green. So it gives you lots of ability to kind of do different things with it that you want to. But again, and then the stretch itself goes in both directions. Again, stretches in one direction more than the other, so you get a lot of movement and a lot out of this. And I love it. It's really, really current. It's really contemporary. Color every way. I just really like this fabric. All right, any suggestions? Sheets dress would be fabulous. In fact, we've got the coordinating color, that light green. It would be absolutely beautiful. Sheet dress would be perfect. Giorgio's top, no. No, and I'll tell you why. For Giorgio's top, you've got a vertical line here. Okay, so when you've got a vertical line, you don't want to cut it up into all those pieces. Again, this is a busy fabric, and with a busy fabric, you don't want to put in a busy pattern unless it's overall busy, if that makes sense. This is got a pattern to it, and if you cut up that pattern and sew it back together with a princess seam of Giorgio's top and then the flare at the bottom, all those straight lines will show that they're not straight with the flare. The flare and the straight will contradict one another. Again, just my opinion. Nina's top, I think, would be absolutely perfect. Tank dress would be beautiful, especially when you put on something light on top of it, like a little white sweater set or something like that. Skirt would be beautiful. All right, we'll show you what I did. I absolutely love this. Again, this trim right here is the selvage. I could have done it in the print. Again, because I didn't, I know the green is not my favorite color, but I love it. I wanted to make the focus more on white because I could wear this with my skinny jeans. So the top is the tank, this is the tank top underneath, and then this is the, you know, the 195 shell that goes across. So I could wear it open if I wanted to with a belt, or either way. This is sleeveless. Absolutely love this. It's soft and yet it's structured, and it really holds the lines, but it doesn't disturb any of the fabric. It really just brings out the beauty of the fabric the best possible. It uses all the parts and all the pieces. It comes around to a great neck edge. I did a short little 3/4 sleeve just so that it had some kind of sleeve. The French dart sneaks up the side, just don't even notice it. I love this. Love it. The reason, go ahead. Well, the princess sheath, the sheath dress princess seam, the pieces are much wider, so you can actually, if you were to do the princess sheath, you'd want to be very careful placing them, because if you notice here, we'll look at this portion, you have lines. You wouldn't want to place one cut line here and one cut line here. It would just completely destroy the lines. When you're placing a princess seam on a lined fabric, I'm going to go back to the lined fabric, you got to be careful as to how you place it. So you would want to place the princess seam right on the top of that line rather than cutting that line up. With Giorgio's top, the parts of the lines are so small when you get into the waist area because it's pulled in that I'm afraid all those lines will just converge with one another, and it'll actually cause a coloration issue as the waist starts to get smaller. That's what I would caution. I'm past 25 garments. Hey, no. I didn't say you had to stay at 25. I said you had to come down to 25 and then build up. My goal is 200, girls. Okay, 200 by the end of the summer. That's what we're going for. But I mean, I just love these, and especially where it's fun, where you have the base and you can pull them in, because my skinny jeans, my white skinny jeans, I can wear this with. I can wear it open, I can close. The reason I did these together is because you think about what, this is just so pretty. I love the coloration. What color, if you only made the top, what other color would you put with it? If I want to wear my skinny jeans, I mean, I could have worn it with this white tank, I do that, but I really wanted a completely different look, so to make the tank and the shell just made more sense to me in that whole big scheme of things. Yeah, no, all the dresses. This is not for a sheath dress. Yes, this fabric, you do not want to use a gather in this fabric. It will not lay well. It will not lay flat. It's lightweight, but it's not dense enough. You need a very dense fabric to use for Shelley's dress. This would not work for Shelley's dress, and it would not work for Sophia's dress. But it would work for sheath, but that's because there's no gathers, and it's got a great stripe to it. It'd be very, very nice. Okay, so here's this beautiful fabric. I just put this up. We just got this brand new in today, or not today, but I mean, you know, last week we got it in. Love this fabric. This is an Ellie Tahari. It's 100% cotton, and it's a panel. So what you can see in the panel is you can see that there's a floral part. Each panel is like 30, almost a yard. It's 34 inches long. So you can see there's a floral part and then this beautiful striped part. I know in the store we've seen so many shirts exactly like this, and so to me this was a no-brainer. There was just a couple things I wanted to point out to you that I did that I just really, really like about this, but this was kind of a no-brainer to me. You know, the fact that it was continuous, it just was really simple. Any suggestions, ideas on what you do with that? Oh, the neoprene? The selvage on the neck, let me show you. When you go back to the selvage is so beautiful. I mean, it's finished and everything. It's just, I looked at that and thought, oh my gosh, it's like fold over elastic, except it actually matches. So I just figured out how wide I wanted it. I cut it twice as wide, and then I just serged this edge and folded it over and stretched just like you would fold over elastic. It's got stretch to it. So it's basically built-in fold-over elastic. Again, I really like this edge better, the green edge. The only reason I didn't do it is I didn't want the attention of the green. I wanted the white, but this is so pretty. And that fold-over elastic actually is in a print that matches the frickin' fabric. It's so rare that you see stuff like this. I just love it. And it really does signify really high-quality fabric when the selvages are so beautiful like that and so well finished. I think a skirt would be beautiful on that. I would have to agree. Keep in mind, this acts like a stripe, you guys. You got to be careful. Even though it's a wide stripe, it acts like a stripe. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, this is a stripe. But the fun thing about this fabric is you've got a stripe and a floral together. And what we know is, one thing we talked about in the DVD is we've got floral and masculine, feminine and masculine patterns, and feminine and masculine fabric. And so what we want to do is identify if it's feminine or masculine, and then use it in a pattern that's likewise. Well, here we've got both. So there's really not a wrong pattern that you can do. It's a very lightweight cotton. It's not see-through. It's not see-through, but it's very, very thin. I mean, you know, when I burned this cotton, it just burned so pretty. It's such a beautiful cotton. It's really, really nice. So this, to me, again, this is a woven. It's not a stretch. So I just did a blouse. And there's the blouse I did. And I'll kind of show you the parts. Because there is a term in the fashion industry when they are making a high-end blouse, it's called shadowing. I did that to the collar, and I kind of want to explain that to you because I think it's beautiful. When you how can I explain this? When you go to do a collar and you cut the collar piece, if you put that collar, especially on the white sections, if you put that collar on top of another part of the fabric, and if it's not the same exact, then you can see all the print come through. I mean, it looks terrible. Cheap blouses use interfacing. High-end blouses do what they call shadowing. So they actually hand cut, because a collar has to be 2 layers, they hand cut the bottom layer. And if you look really carefully, you can see that the 2 layers are exactly the same. You can feel there's 2 layers there, but when you look through, you can see that the second layer is identically matching the first layer. So, I mean, again, blouses that are doing this, keep in mind that all the collars have to be hand cut in order to do this, but because the collar is what shows so beautifully, that's the reason it's done like this. All of this has several layers. That's not an issue. But it's the collar that's an issue. So I did that with this. The only way to do that on this particular fabric is to use the wrong side underneath and the right side on the outside, because the print is all one way. The print is not symmetrical. It's asymmetrical. So, and I've seen this done. I've seen the wrong side used on the undercollar and the right side on the outside. So that's exactly what I did, and I love my collar. So you can see on the back, I just put it on the fold right where that line was. And then on the front, I actually cut one side out of the print, one side out of the stripe. Little sleeve, I turned the stripe the opposite direction, and then of course one floral, you know, short little sleeve. So this top is just great to me with just yoga pants or leggings or capris or anything like that that's just a short little black whatever. I used square little buttons because they just went right with the theme of the stripe. But you could have used floral buttons as well. In this particular case, you've got feminine and masculine, so there's lots of patterns that you could have tied in here, and lots of patterns that would have been, you know, really, really nice. Yoga skirt no. Yoga skirt, no. Yoga skirt is a knit, not a woven, and yoga skirt has a curved bottom. You don't want to try to put a stripe at the bottom. It will be disaster. It won't work. The skirt is curved at the bottom. The neoprene, you can't get much stickier and hotter than we are in Dallas, Texas, and I wore this yesterday, and I'm going to tell you something, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I had no issues, and I don't know, I was surprised. I'm going to tell you, I was surprised at how beautifully it's sewed, because you all know I hate sewing on polyester. The striped blouse, this is pattern number 600. Oops, sorry. Classic blouse, pattern number 600. Can we just turn that? I'm just going to go this way now. Okay, so I've got one last fabric. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to do this one last fabric. You're right, I've got too much in here. Alright, so this is an ITY knit. Do what? Hold on one second. Okay, it's called Linear Splendor. Love this. I just really like this. This is an ITY knit. And you guys know ITY knits have great drape, Some people hate them, some people love them. I like them. I don't do whole garments because they're too hot to me, but I always do like just a little shirt or something, a 3/4 sleeve, just something that's just lightweight and cool. And I love how lightweight this is, and I love the drape. So when you start to look at this, and this is Linear Splendor, IT1 knit, the lines are going all different directions. So the first thing you want to do is you want to kind of find a theme of how you could direct those lines. Because you've got a very busy print, you don't want to cut it up a lot. There's no purpose in cutting it up. It already looks cut up. All the cutting up's already been done for you. So the purpose, or what I found is, if you notice, there's a line. There's a linear line that goes up, and I decided to play on that linear line because that vertical line would give me height. So that's what I started with. I started with that linear line, and I worked all the way around that until I made this little top. This is Anne's top. So you can see my linear line is going here. It just has a little collar here, but it's so draped so well, it just sits down to where it really isn't a big part of it. Threw on a little black belt. I cut it longer for leggings. And this is garment number 29 in my closet now. So I have a few more. Alright, so I put the line down the front, I put the line down the back as well, so that it had the symmetry, but everything else, again, simple pattern, complex fabric, and a print. But this would be, I mean, it's linear, so be careful with a linear not to match it with something that's too soft and drapey. It worked with this collar because it is a cut and sew on collar. This is not a cowl, and it would not have worked with a cowl, but because it had such great drape, I wanted to give it a cowl effect. That's the whole reason Anne's top came into existence. Pattern number 115 is to give us a cowl look with a geometric fabric, because it doesn't work in a cowl. It doesn't look good, it's not right, etc., etc. So this was perfect to do this with the geometric, to do 115. Do you like it? May POM? May POM is the Tommy's cargo shorts. Tommy's cargo shorts are the May POM. And that's what we're going to do next time. You guys, you know what? Even if you don't sew for men, you got to watch this, because we're going to do some fun stuff. We might do a little sew along. Not a big one, but maybe a little one. Are we good? Any questions? You don't need extra fabric because it's already the fabric. It's in the middle. You'll need 2 yards. But you just cut the top, the front and the back out of the middle, and then you cut the back, the sleeves out of the sides is what I did. This is way too much fun. It's called Linear Splendor, ITY knit. It's fabric number 865. We'll have links to all of them when we put the page up. So the goal is to really look at the fabric. Buy the fabric. It's the fabric we love. It's the fabric that gets us excited, and then really work it until we can come up with the best possible of what the fabric has to offer. But look at the stretch, look at the selvages, look at how much it does. You know, sometimes, I love being a pattern maker, obviously, because when I figure out what the fabric should do, I have the ability to do it, and that's a lot of fun. You don't ever kind of shortcut the fabric. But it also takes understanding the fabric really well and then understanding the pattern. So it's good sometimes if you're only working with a few patterns so that you don't get overwhelmed with having too many. Okay? The fabric of the top I'm wearing, I had it in my notes. It's called Dotted Perfection. I don't remember the fabric, but you can look online. It's fabric number 858. I don't remember. I think it's a cotton. Pretty sure it's cotton. It's got a great selvage too. You can see I took the selvage and stuck it up the front. Is it cotton? Yeah, it's a cotton acrylic. Feels like a cotton, sews like a cotton. When you burn it, there's a little bit of an acrylic in there. Are we good? All right, everybody's got their questions. The fabric always wins. You can't argue with the fabric. It's kind of like Mother for Mother's Day, right? You can't argue with Mother. All right, y'all, thanks for joining us. The whole goal is to have happy sewing, and our goal is to help you have happy sewing. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.